Al Gore, king of the climate scam.
Biggest crisis in the history of this country.
Sea level worldwide will go up 20 feet.
600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bomb.
A man who took a silly environmentalist scare and turned it into a trillion-dollar industry. In 2006, Al Gore's apocalyptic movie, An Inconvenient Truth, wowed audiences and even won 2 Oscars. So, almost 20 years on, how many of the terrifying predictions Gore made have come true? Hey, I'm Brooke, and you're watching Gorilla Science. Here are Al Gore's top 10 fails. Number 10, polar bear extinction. In his 2006 movie, Al Gore went up to the Arctic in a nuclear submarine to declare the end of the polar bear.
There is a faster buildup of heat here at the North Pole. That's not good for creatures like polar bears.
He even commissioned this heartbreaking animation to drive the point home.
A new scientific study shows that for the first time they're finding polar bears that have actually drowned.
Is there anything sadder than seeing a drowning polar bear? Unless you're a seal. But is climate killing them off? The study to which Gore refers here has nothing to do with the bears dying for lack of ice. It looks at 4 polar bears who died in a storm, which happens occasionally in the Arctic. The rise in Greenland temperature to which Al refers can be seen here. It's unfortunate that he didn't mention what went before. I wonder why. Maybe it's because summer temperatures in Greenland have been higher than they are today for almost all the past 10,000 years, and the polar bears did just fine. Nor did Al Gore mention, by the way, the much larger icy mass Antarctica, which for decades now has been getting steadily colder. Here's us, way down here. And how are polar bears doing today? The population is exploding. According to some estimates, there are 4 times as many as there were a few decades ago. Bad news for Big Al. And even worse news for seals. Number 9, low-lying Pacific Islands.
Low-lying Pacific Islands are planning evacuations of places they have long called home.
That's so sad. All those unfortunate indigenous types fleeing from their ancestral homelands? All because of you and your Ford F-150 Lariat. Or are they? The Pacific has over 300 coral atoll islands. Most are less than 2 meters above sea level. In the 18 years since Gore's prediction, how many atoll dwellers have had to flee their sinking homes? Not a single one. Zilch. Nada. Atolls can always change size slowly because, well, they're made of coral. But a recent study found that 90% of Pacific atolls are showing no discernible change whatsoever. And many are actually growing, rising from the water. And as for the inhabitants fleeing, the population is expected to grow from 11 to 17 million by 2050, a rise of 60%. Another of Al's claims sunk. Number 8, Lake Chad. It's big, it's wet, and it's right in the middle of Africa. But look out, Lake Chad, here comes climate change.
This is Lake Chad, once one of the largest lakes in the world. It has dried up over the last few decades to almost nothing.
Al made his claim about this Central African lake in his film An Inconvenient Truth. What Al doesn't mention is that Lake Chad has been shrinking for thousands of years from natural causes, with no help at all from industrial civilization. It's true that in the decades after 1970 it shrank at a faster rate. But that was because the 5 African countries that straddle the Chad Basin were siphoning off river water before that water could reach the lake. Nothing at all to do with climate. Thankfully, those African countries are getting their act together. And today the lake is 15% bigger than it was when Gore made his wild and inaccurate claim. A win for Africans and a big L for Big Al. Number 7, droughts.
Major cities in North and South America, Asia, and Australia are nearly out of water due to massive droughts.
Massive droughts! Of course there'll be massive droughts. The earth is boiling! He claimed that major cities were fast running out of water because of increasing droughts. But look at this graph from The Lancet. It shows areas of the world affected by severe meteorological drought from 1900 to today. And the trend is very clearly down. Sorry, Al. And sorry to the kid who had to sit through the speech. Number 6, the ocean conveyor.
They call it the ocean conveyor, and that pump shut off.
Gore is talking about the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation. What's that? It's a fancy name for Atlantic Ocean currents, wherein warm water moves up from the tropics to the North Atlantic, where it cools, sinks, and returns southward. Like much of nature, it's highly variable. But since Al is keen to follow the science, he will have been relieved to read a recent major study published in Nature. One that reemphasizes that the ocean conveyor changes naturally over time, that there is no evidence that it is collapsing, or that any changes, current or recent, are due to human activity. And by the way, Al, for most of the last 50 million years, the Earth has been far warmer than it is today, and the oceans got along just fine. Number 5, a 20-foot sea level rise.
Sea level worldwide would go up 20 feet.
Al dazzled his audience in An Inconvenient Truth with high-tech maps projecting a 20-foot rise in sea levels in the near future. A truly biblical deluge. By the time of Al's follow-up film, An Inconvenient Sequel, his 20-foot prediction seemed mysteriously to have shrunk.
This is a major crisis. Projected sea level rise in South Florida, possibly 7 feet or more.
So, have we witnessed a sudden recent increase in sea level? Nope. According to official data, there's a slow rise in sea levels, but it started a century or more before CO2 levels started to take off, and the rate of change hasn't altered. There's no indication whatsoever that human activities are affecting sea levels at all. What's more, sea levels change all the time. Here's sea level change from 2,000 years ago to today. The current rise came after an even bigger sea level fall lasting about 500 years, and before that it rose. All natural. Al Gore seems to have water on the brain. Maybe he needs a tap on the head. Number 4, Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina, a Category 4 megastorm that slammed into New Orleans and killed over 1,300 people in August 2005. Gore, of course, tried to link it to global warming.
It picks up that energy and gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And of course, the consequences were so horrendous.
But here's the record of landfalling hurricanes in the U.S. over the last 120 years. I'm afraid, Al, in all that time, there has been no increase either in the number or intensity of landfalling hurricanes in the U.S. In fact, the number of U.S. hurricanes is massively down compared to the 1940s. Perhaps Al can explain that to us if he makes another movie. Number 3, ice-free Arctic.
The North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Bad news for Santa's grotto. Or is it? Al's prediction looked forward to the year 2013. By that time, the Arctic looked like this. Yep, that's ice you can see there. And how is it looking today? You guessed it. There's ice at the poles, by the way, because we're bang in the middle of the late Cenozoic Ice Age. For most of the last 500 million years, there was no ice at the poles. In Earth's climate history, no ice is normal. Al's just trying to scare us. Again. Number 2, Mount Kilimanjaro. Back to Africa and the continent's highest mountain. But not for long, says Al.
Within the decade, there will be no more snows of Kilimanjaro.
Al made that claim in 2006. And it's one he's had trouble letting go of.
Maybe I should show before and after pictures of Mount Kilimanjaro, Seth. Oh, that's right, I did that, and it didn't work.
It didn't work because you were wrong, Al. Here's a picture of Mount Kilimanjaro today. Say, what's that white stuff at the top? He must be so pleased that he was wrong. Number 1, a nuclear holocaust. Big Al didn't actually predict we'd all be destroyed in a nuclear holocaust. But we can't help notice that a trailer for his film features an atomic bomb going off. I wonder if that might not be a cynical and entirely unscientific attempt to make people alarmed.
600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs.
The only thing being vaporized is Al Gore's reputation. So that's my top 10 Al Gore fails, and I'm sure I haven't got them all. If you can think of more, let me know in the comments below. And it's not just Al Gore making wild climate claims. There's a video about that right here.